This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in Meta Quest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The Meta Quest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code Ruff Talk VR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we have another guest that I'm so excited for. I know we say this every time we have...
Yeah, but it's true.
Well, the reality is if we're having somebody on the show, it's because we really want to talk to them. And the other week we reviewed Hubris on the podcast. And for the Meta Quest, we reviewed the Meta Quest version. That's what we play on. And we both loved it. We both gave it great scores. So we had to get somebody from the team on ASAP to ask some questions. So today we're joined with Koen from Cyborn VR, the developers of Hubris VR. You know, he's the lead developer to start and then kind of transition to a little bit more of a producer role, but he'll get into that a little bit more himself. But Koen, do you mind to introduce yourself to the guests or to the listeners and tell them a little bit about what you do and who you are?
Right. So, hi everybody. My name is Koen. I'm the game producer of Hubris. So basically, I started out in Hubris, at Cyborn like a few years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, I think. Back then, we used to make mobile applications, and then the core team of the company actually was mostly focused on movie production. So we created two 3D movie productions. And eventually we also shifted a bit more into real-time productions, and that's how I became more part of the core team. We did quite some VR training applications, and then my boss, the founder of the company who founded Cyborn 25 years ago, actually before that he had a gaming companies who always wanted to create games, but it was quite hard back then because you did not have Unity or Unreal Engine. So then eventually we shifted into more into game production later on. So that's I think we started production on Hubris maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and eventually that's how it came to be.
Wow, so 25 years as a game studio doing movies, transitioning to games, and now making blockbuster VR games is what I would call them, especially by Quest VR standards.
Still got it's got currently as of right now a 4.4
on the Meta Quest store.
Yeah,
well deserved. Should be a 4.8. It's a great story based game in my opinion.
Dude, the graphics.
Yeah, the story is well written. I love the voice acting. So
those graphics are so damn good.
And you definitely see the cinematic background in the final product. But how did you transition to VR? What spiked your interest as a company to go, you know what, let's make a great game in VR?
So basically, we were using VR already for the movie production. So we got our own motion capture studio at the company, and basically we used VR to pre-visualize motion capture recording. So you could actually hop in and into a motion capture session, put on the VR glasses, and you could see the 3D versions of the actors actually played. And then we could actually put up cameras, etc. So we could do a lot of directing work in there, and then that's how we actually got really triggered by the technology. I mean, we had the Oculus SDK 1, so we were quite early there, but the game only got finished now because it took a lot of time actually to get Hubris where it was. But in early days of VR, we already were toying around with it, but more for the movie productions. Then we did a few serious applications. We did a training VR app for children in a hospital to calm them down before operations. And then we also the first thing that we did for Hubris was, and that actually pushed us all the way into VR, was that we were also making a movie actually about Hubris first. And then we wanted to pre-visualize some scenes in Unreal Engine because it's just faster to render it in Unreal than always rendering it with Arnold, like for the 3D movies. And then there was like a big tech fair in Antwerp, and people asked us like, "Oh, can't you like show something cool for that?" So we were like, "Sure." Maybe we got like one of the scenes that we were using for pre-visualization. We can like put it there on the fair, and then show it to all the people there. And then we actually had a Vive Pro 1, and then we mounted a Leap Motion on front of it, and then you could actually be in the scene, like one of the, it was like a loft scene of the, well, it was a loft, you know it. It's actually also made it into the game. But back then it was just to showcase how someone would actually live in like a sci-fi world, like completely of yeah, somewhere else. And then like people were so blown away for being like they were like taken out of the world, were put completely there, and then they're like, because it's in VR, you completely lose yourself and you actually believe that you are there. And that actually got the ball rolling for us.
Wow, that's quite the quite
Yeah,
the
it is.
story.
Dude, can I jump back to something that was mentioned though?
Absolutely.
You mentioned using VR to calm children down.
Yeah.
So what was can we talk about that for a minute? I want to
Yeah.
know like what brought
Definitely.
that together, and what was the results you found from doing that?
So we actually work together with a children's hospital in the Netherlands. It's called Erasmus. And so basically they were researching what you could do for like better recovery after operations of children. So basically what their theory was that if they experience the entire route before they put into sleep, that they would be like way more calmer during the operation, and that would actually improve their recovery. And actually, the study like concluded, and it actually did help. So basically, because they knew what was coming, they had a better time actually recovering from after the operations.
I love to
See,
hear.
yeah, dude, that's the area of VR that we talk about, but we're not privy to like many examples of it being used in the medical community. But that's a great example of it.
And what's great about Cyborn is that they're not a company. Well, I love companies that spawn up just for VR, but they're a company that also does come in with a lot of experience, quite the history, and it shows in the final product.
What amazes me is it's another company with movie background.
We've
that is
seen this a
coming to-
lot.
Yeah, multiple studios have these like serious movie backgrounds, and they're converting it over to VR, and it seems to be working wonders.
So something I'm dying to know is how big was the team that originally worked on Hubris, or even just the Meta Quest version?
Well, like there worked a lot of people on Hubris because we did it like over so many years, and then we also had to do like quite some work for hire in between. So it's hard to put an actual number on it, but right now at Cyborn we are with like between 20 and 30 people. And then on the port itself, actually, because the game was already done, it was less. Like we only needed like, I don't know, 5 or 6 people who just were working all the time. 5 or 6 very talented people though, but they did the entire job.
And how long did that take to port to the Quest?
So we released in December, right? And then well, the desktop version, and then I think 6 months later we were live on the Quest. But before that, actually, we already did a lot of tests. We had Hubris running at one point on Quest 1. That's probably also like 3 years ago or something. Way back, we had our first demo. It was also the loft scene. We actually ported that to Quest 1 to just showcase that we were able to make mobile graphics. But then, yeah, so on and off. Once we had like the right tech stack there and the right development tools, it actually went relatively good because then you had the knowledge and it was just about applying that knowledge to the entire game. So it was just like scene by scene, optimizing it, removing whatever we cannot use anymore, and then go onward from there.
Wow, that's very good to hear. A question I was going to ask next was, what was it like porting the game to the
getting it
Quest?
to actually run.
A common answer we hear to that is,
Get it to run on Quest 1 though.
That's
freaking
insane.
phenomenal.
And usually when we ask that, developers go, "Oh my goodness, it was a pain in the ass. It's such a headache." But you had a pretty calm, cool, and collected attitude about it in that response there. You kind of sounded like it wasn't the
end of the world.
no, it wasn't the biggest headache ever.
I mean, I think it's also part of the fact that we got a pretty good team. We got mobile development experience beforehand, so we knew like everything about Vulkan already and about mobile processors. We know like the yeah, we knew what the bottlenecks were going to be. Uh, so we just had to like spend a lot of time on those things. For us, it wasn't really our gameplay logic. It was all about scene complexity and in more detail even like we had too many different objects in most of the scenes, so we were not GPU locked, but we were CPU locked due to the art, which was annoying, but basically we had to simplify all the scenes. And if you do it quite that's hard words. Anyway, if you do it right and then just with like just go scene at one at a time and then just spend the right amount of time with the right persons on it, you can get it on.
It's all about that optimizing.
Well, and having a good team, because
Yeah.
again, not only another company that's come for movies, but they seem to have the ability to put together these really talented teams. Because if I look back on other devs that have movie backgrounds, they've done the same exact thing.
Well, I remember too when we talked to Lucas Martel, he had told us some insane numbers for how many like man hours it takes to make X amount of time in animation. So to anybody coming from anything cinematic and dealing with Hollywood style movie production or just movie production in general, I'm sure, the going scene by scene might be painstaking to some, but to those coming from the movie background, that's probably like less work, less of a headache,
Well, then we've heard the creativity of being able to do work in VR is where it's the biggest game changer, because you have no limitations where, in real world, and like you said, how long it takes to actually program an animation. My jaw dropped when I heard that.
Yeah,
I had
from
no
Lucas.
idea.
So what was the inspiration for this game? I know you mentioned that it was, you had some movie versions of it in the work before, but how did the
Yeah, I
idea
wonder
for
if
this?
is this the script from the movie, more or less?
Yeah, I mean, it's got quite the story. We love the story, the whole plot line to it, the characters involved.
Actually want more, to be honest with you.
So it's definitely not something that was just quickly put together and sloppy. It's very well written, a great story. So how did that come to
Good
be?
voice acting too.
Yeah. Whose idea was this? How did it come to be?
So basically, Hubris is the idea of the founder of the company and the creator director. It's from Eve, and he's been working on the story actually for I don't know, probably before he even founded this company. Maybe some parts were already growing in his head when he had his previous company before Cyborn. And I think over the years it just kept growing. The movie that he wanted to create then was different, but it was the same universe. It had definitely like similar characters, but it's not the game, because the game that you play is actually just like parts in the entire world of Hubris. The movie actually was also taking place on the Twin Planet system, so it's near there, but we're different characters, etc. And we are currently actually also creating a YouTube short series, which we will release later this year, and we'll actually tell the story about everything what went before the game. So it will also like provide a little bit more insight. So yeah.
Okay, that's great to hear, because something that I felt like with this game is that there's so much lore potential.
Well,
And
so much that led up to even you being there.
well, how about this? That you just do like you're on your way to training, and then there was just an emergency call. Who knows how big in the grand scheme that mission actually was? I know it was emergency, but it could have just been a minor ass side quest of a grand thing. So you really got just a sliver
Of the
of
lore.
yeah. So to me, when I played this, I was like, there's so much potential with the lore and the universe of Hubris, not only with a continuation of the characters involved in the first game, but just in potential of the whole universe. Because again, that didn't seem like the make it or break it part of the universe, but it seemed like a very small thing going on. So it's great to hear there's more potential or more things coming with the lore. And on
It's
that, is there even more plans with either Hubris updates or additional game content, whether it's a Hubris spinoff, a Hubris 2? Is there more to come in the Hubris universe?
So to like the thing that you saw in the game is just the tip of everything. The story behind it is huge, and we already got like an absurd amount of concept art about worlds, etc. So like we got this big huge book of hubris that we want to tell the world. Um, how we will how we will create that, it's not sure yet. We definitely want to make like hubris 2, but will it then be a spin-off? Will it be like something like a completely different story somewhere else in the universe? Will it be continuation of this one? We don't know yet. Will we make more YouTube shorts as well about the universe? That's yet to be decided. So, but yeah, there's a whole lot more to tell everyone about Hubris.
Plus some hubris merch, because I could already see like once people get attached to the story, they'll want the I want the characters, man.
No, that's awesome. I'm so excited for what could potentially come. You can tell that there's a lot of lore in the
Well, dude,
background that's not shown yet, but that's clearly there.
with no spoilers, when it ended, in my head, I didn't feel like this is not the end. There's more to this. You can't possibly just end here. I want more. So I'm excited to know that in some which way, form, capacity, no guarantees, promise what direction, that there will be more. So
Absolutely. At least the conception of it's there, the idea for it. So going back to yourself, though, when did you join the team? When did you become a part of Cyborn? And what's your background in gaming and in general?
So I joined 8 years ago, Cyborn, and before that, actually, I studied IT first, and then eventually I did a bachelor in game development. And then after my internship in Copenhagen, I actually landed a job with Cyborn because they needed a mobile application developer, and they were doing fun things because they were mostly working with augmented reality back then, with 360 videos, stuff like that. So it was quite exciting. Then I joined, yeah, so 8 years ago, and then basically every year we like kind of grew a little bit in the real time department because we needed to create more and bigger apps. We actually created quite a few Disney themed apps. So we did 360 movies of Star Wars, where you were actually like, we had a very nice one where you were in the cockpit of an AT-AT and you were like fighting and shooting stuff while you actually could like look around in the cockpit. It was really nice. We did quite some augmented reality stuff like with Marvel characters as well. So were very nice brands to work for. And then yeah, eventually the Hubris project became bigger and bigger, and then we started shifting focus more onto that until actually the entire company was working on Hubris.
it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Anything I hear Star Wars for anything,
I wrote that down.
Yeah. So, it sounds like the team's decently big. You mentioned that was actually a
It's
plus.
a good size, 20 to 30.
Yeah, to being able to port the game. At any given time, is there multiple projects going on, or was it like all focus on Hubris the whole time?
No, so like I said, we are actually also working quite a lot of work for hire because like we don't got a publisher or anything, so we have to fund the production of Hubris ourselves. So we actually worked for example, we worked on Call of the Mountain, Horizon Call of the Mountain. We did animation on that one, and we did like I think I don't know a huge amount of all the destruction simulations. That's Cyborn that did them, not the integration in the game, but like need to work. We also worked on Horizon 2, that one, like not the VR version. We are currently working on a few other like very exciting AAA titles as well. So hopefully we can announce more about that. But yeah, those productions they take forever. So before we can tell anything about that, that's that. So mostly like in between game production, we also do like a lot of animation and artwork for hire.
That's awesome. I mean, for one, it pays the bills, but it also gets hell of experience.
Well, and any devs listening, the quality of the work. Just got to go into Hubris.
Yeah, and it's cool to see a mix between flat screen and VR. You mentioned Horizon 2 flat screen, but also Call of the Mountain, and then obviously Hubris itself. So for you as, kind of the producer position, do you prefer working for flat screen games, for VR games? Doesn't really matter. What's your preference on that?
Developing for VR is really hard actually. The barrier of entry for your developers to work in VR is quite hard because well, if the headset works well, then it's putting up the headset all the time. But it's yeah, there are a lot of like pain points in production there. So I think like working for a desktop is just it's easier. So from a production standpoint, that's preferable because then you get less headaches. That said, I mean we're making VR games because we're passionate about VR, right? So we take the additional work um, that comes with it, but it's definitely not easy and straightforward. But eventually, like when you are able to pass the finish line and create something like Hubris, it's something that like the entire team can be super proud on. And then they're like, okay, this took longer and it was harder, but it was definitely worth it.
I'll take the extra length and, you know, for a better product for sure.
Yeah, to make sure it all goes smooth. I didn't have any bugs.
No, that
in
was
the
one of
game.
the things I think I even noted on the scores. I had no issues with.
The utilization of VR immersion didn't feel forced. It was very organic. Like the swimming. Oh my goodness, the
That was
swimming was
nice.
so good. One of the
Yeah.
best parts. The climbing felt good in it. As sometimes I could get a really good rhythm with kind of like running, jumping, climbing. It almost felt like VR Assassin's Creed in a mini condensed little segment. So it was a lot of fun. For the Quest version, we had mentioned it's 4.4, store rating, but what's the reception that you've heard been, since release? What's that been like?
I think overall the directions are pretty good. I mean, it's clear there are not like a lot of like high quality story driven games right now on Quest, so it's like we don't got like huge amount of competition there. I mean, you got Red Matter and you got Star Wars, for example, like two other games that are like kind of in our category. But yeah, like Red Matter 2 was released, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and then Star Wars like 2 years ago, so they're not that many titles like that. Um, yeah, I kind of lost where I was going to. What was the question again?
About the reception of the game, but I
Oh
totally feel
yeah,
you on that too. That was a
yeah,
big part of why we loved it. We love Red Matter, we love Star
yeah,
Wars, but we're suckers for these story-based kind of puzzly
yeah.
games. But I'll let you keep going on the reception
Okay,
too.
yeah. So basically, I mean, the reception was really good on that end. I think, yeah, given the circumstances that we had to like run the entire world on a mobile device, I think that's also like a lot of people like see how hard that is, and that's nice to receive like that like confirmation, like holy shit, guys, like how did you get this done? It's crazy. So that's nice to hear. I think also because like the desktop version, we had quite a lot of feedback about some mechanics that weren't like optimally yet, and we like applied like so many updates to the desktop version to eventually get it on the Quest and the PlayStation version. And it's nice that like the ratings are so good right now. I mean, on Steam we are getting close to 80% upvotes, so that's also really good now, but on launch it was a bit less, also due to some technical issues. Because like on desktop we have to support, I don't know, maybe it's like up to 50 different headsets. Uh, so it's quite hard to support that, and then and we did not have like the capacity to properly like QA every different headset because yeah, we're only with 20 people. It's very hard to get that out of the way. But for the Quest, your game needs to run on the Quest and the Quest Pro. That's it. So we had two devices to test. So I think that also helped like a lot, and that together with all the feedback. And you mentioned the voice acting. We actually redid the entire main voice character, like from Lucia. We re-recorded everything because on desktop people didn't like her that much. So we were like, okay, we get a chance to get on Quest on the Quest store. We have to do this like properly. So let's just redo it. And I'm glad people are like yeah really liking that as well.
So I had read the news about the re-recording of the voice acting, but we didn't play the PCVR version. We played the
Oh.
Quest version. So is the voice acting that's in the Quest version, is that the new updated Steam VR voice acting, or what's the difference in the two?
No, so basically the launch Steam version had a different voice for Lucia than the one that's actually launched on Quest and PlayStation. But by now we actually also updated the Steam version, so everyone has the same version. So yeah.
Okay, because I had read that and that there were some criticisms of the voice acting, but having only played it on the Quest, I was like,
Yeah,
"Psh, the
we got
voice
a
acting was great.
we got a little defensive when you and I were talking about it.
Yeah, I was like, what was the complaint? Whoever did that,
Sounded
Lucia,
good to me.
yeah, they actually did a great job. They captured the perfect aesthetic for it. So I thought that it was like a change, like the Quest version and the Steam VR version were the same, and now Steam was getting a completely different. But
Yeah.
that makes sense that I had heard the quote unquote better version as my first impression.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And how many, this is really good voice acting. It didn't sound like you just, put a sign on the street or Craigslist and said, "Hey, anybody want to come record some lines?"
Someone got a microphone.
Yeah, sounded like some really professional voice actors. So how many like hours of dialogue is there total in the game? What was that whole process like too of getting these voice actors?
Well, the first voice of Lucia, I think, reason why it was not up to standards on release, like on desktop release, was mostly because we recorded her like several times over the past few years for the actual voice. So it was very hard for her to like always adjust, like, oh yeah, back to that voice, back into that scene, and then we all like had different cuts, which was super hard. That's why we decided to like redo the entire thing together with the voice actor who is the male voice of Wack, Jordan Reynolds. He has like a huge amount of experience in voice acting, and we actually asked him, okay, so basically we want to redo the voice of Lucia. Can't you just like help us out as well? We want to do like 2 new voice recording sessions, and then you can try to like give additional tips to the voice actress to like really up the level. And so then then we just like re-recorded all the voices in an actual professional studio, because before that it was at the home booth as well for of the voice actress, which is okay, but it's not great either. So we just like decided to do it like all the way again, and we just upped the quality with like someone who is like voice directing in a better recording studio. And that's how it works. It's actually a funny story about that, because our voice actress is actually from Australia, and the voice director is from LA, and we're from Belgium. So basically, for the sessions to re-record again, I was awake from 11 in the evening until 6 in the morning twice, just to get like the voice slots right. So it was an all-nighter for me just to get the re-recordings done again, which was it was nice that it eventually got finished, but it was quite heavy.
It's like being a teenager again. You get a couple
Yeah.
energy
Well, yeah,
drinks.
you're
and-
breaking night.
Oh
At
yeah.
least at least you chose to take it on the chin instead of being like, no,
Somebody else got to
yeah,
do it.
you're
Let's
in
get
LA.
an
You
intern.
can be up from 11 to.
Yeah, no, it's tough work. I got to be the one to do it. And as a consumer, I'll say right now, you can, again, our impression was that it was professional, high quality voice acting. So that extra work went in, but you see it in the product too.
What I like is that, and I see it all the time where people do use voice actors, and I'm not knocking home studios; they work fine, but they're never going to be as good as if you actually go to a professional studio to do your recording. I mean, it's a different ball game. That just the mixer alone at your access with an engineer running it is going to crush any home setup. So that's a great move.
And it sounds like it was the same voice actress, but just reused in the different environment. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then we also first so she's from Australia, and we asked her for the first time that she was doing a US accent, but then we just told her doesn't matter, just talk how you are to be like make everything more natural. And I think that paid off greatly as well.
Yeah, I almost got the impression. I know I sometimes read fast, and I think I was on a work break or something, so it's possible I misread. But even when I read the articles, I almost got the impression it was a different voice actress. So it's great to hear that it was the same person, just brought into a
That's
more
cool.
professional setting. And
would have been bumming to be like, no, you don't understand. I was the voice on that.
And
now
then
I'm not.
they booted me post release, and you even brought in somebody with a lot of experience to help coach. That's huge.
Brilliant.
So again, the extra work went in, but as a consumer,
The quality came out.
and it was something we even comment, because oftentimes it's a single player game. We love co-op games so much that sometimes we'll party chat while playing single player games. No spoilers to each other, because sometimes there's like puzzle elements of how you do something. Can't spoil it, but we'll be chit chatting, and we both commented on it several times. The voice acting in it is solid. So again, you could tell.
Well, aesthetics, we both gave it a perfect score for that.
Yeah, well, graphically it was a no-brainer, and then also music score,
You gave it a
voice acting,
98.
a 98 total.
Yeah,
I know. I
that's
think you gave
pretty
it
damn.
what, like a 94 or something like that.
91.
91. The game's
I
freaking
had
good.
one issue. It wasn't nothing major, but still 91 and 98.
Yeah, the game was amazing, and kind of on the sound score. What was that like? Was that a whole team behind it? One person?
So actually, the desktop version also did not have a sound score. So we actually first tried to bring the entire atmosphere by like just having, yeah, like how you would actually play the game. Well, how you would be in a world without music, right? Like if you walk outside now, there's certain mood or atmosphere just by the background noise. But then again, we also like received a lot of feedback from the people that they really missed an actual music score because like it could like add so much more emotions, etc. So that's actually when we also started working on the music score, and it was actually one guy that did all the music and also uh, not just the music, but he also did almost all the sound effects in the game and implemented them. So it's our yeah, it's Tristan, our sound guy slash rigger slash animator, and he has like a huge amount of talents, but making music is definitely one of them. And we are also like very happy like how people yeah received like the update to the sound and how everyone really liked that. So it's good to hear that the things that we updated since the desktop release are that well received by you by everyone actually.
Yeah, well, I think
Not
we
that
talk. Sorry, keep going.
not that no background would have killed it if there was some, ambience, but just like a movie, I mean, those
Mhm.
sounds are like as crucial sometimes as the scripts.
Yeah, and it's something we love talking about because there's almost a science to it. You can't just put a
Mhm.
track with high drama in a situation that there's not going to be high drama. You can't spike
It's
adrenaline
got
when
a
there's.
flow.
And how do you know where a player is going to be at a specific point of the game? I mean, of course, you can set triggers in the game to play, but people play at different paces, so it's hard to base off that as well. That's something that, we often talk with the Mighty Coconut crew for Walkabout, and that's something that they talk about a lot. Is like
Can't
you
be too good.
you don't know where somebody's going to be in the course as well, and yeah, it also can't be so good that it's distracting. It has to flow. It has to enhance the natural state of the environment. But unlike a movie, you can't dictate exactly where somebody's going to be. So there's a real art to it, and yeah, we have a great appreciation for it. So yeah, hats off to the guy that put it together. It made a big difference in the the immersive experience.
The all-around sound guru.
Yeah. And you had mentioned, something that made the game not easier for the Quest, but hey, the Quest, you had just the Quest 2 and the Pro versus PCVR with all the potential headsets. Do you, as a team, have plans to do an upgrade for a Quest 3 version when the Quest drops, or the
Oh, that
Quest 3
was
drops,
one
or
of my $1,000,000 questions.
yeah,
I
I
want to know
gotta
if it's
know,
going to be optimized for the.
or is that something you're not allowed to talk about yet?
Um, Basically, we definitely would love to bring out an Quest 3 update. It's just we don't know yet, like timing wise, if we make a release stuff like that. But we will definitely look into that, and it will just like we can do more stuff than just up the resolution because the Quest 3 is so much more powerful than 2. So we're definitely looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for the pancake lenses, and I
That's all
think,
we talk about.
yeah, and I think for games like Hubris or Red Matter, having those pancake lenses, besides the increased performance, allowing you to do better resolution, but having the better visual lenses, I think is going to make a big impact personally on a game like Hubris. So
But one that's shining with the best graphics, in the league of some of the best graphics on the Quest headset.
yeah, so there's
Yeah,
some games that people could argue don't have the most amount of replayability, but you better believe if there's a Quest 3 update,
I'm on it.
I'm gonna replay through Hubris because I got to see what that looks like. So
Yeah.
I definitely hope it's something that we do see come. And also, I understand you can't really talk sales numbers or anything like that, but are you able to say a little bit, what the player base size has been like on PC VR versus PSVR versus Quest?
Well, I think we by far had the best lines on PlayStation. Actually, we made it to I think third best selling game and fourth best selling game in AU and NA. So yeah, we yeah obviously that's huge. We also got featured in the launch trailer of well not the launch like PlayStation recently did like a commercial about the PSVR headset and our game was in there. So that also like yeah things like that, if platforms decide to like push your game, then you basically like get so much exposure. um, Quest is doing pretty good compared to like compared to desktop launch as well. But you feel actually that there recently are like more people playing on the Quest that like games like Guerrilla Attack, or like more like low boundary multiplayer games, right? So I think right now the active market for games like Hubris is slightly smaller on Quest, just for now. But perhaps it switches again when Quest 3 launches, because then maybe you got a completely different audience in again. Uh, so who knows what that gives? Yeah.
But it's weird because I think because there's so few genuine, well done story based games, the audience for them isn't there. But it at the same time, sooner or later there's going to be an abundance of story based games because the audience will be there more. That's just kind of how I'm seeing it. Because I mean, we're suckers for them.
Mm-hmm.
We love them. So when they're done properly and they perform well, and there's nothing feels broken, then it's just a home run. It becomes a great experience.
Yeah, I think Hubris is one of those games that's going to continue to grow on the Quest platform as
I would think so.
new headsets sell, and it's definitely going to be one of those games that's recommended as new players come and they go, hey, what's a single player story experience? Hubris is on that list without a doubt.
And we always sell it that it's cheap. You're getting more time spent in it than you would a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're part of this experience, so you're part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You're part of the story, and it's cheaper than taking a family of 4 out to the freaking movies.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get your money's worth in it.
And what was it like making a game like this? It's not a puzzle game per se, but there's
No.
definitely kind of some puzzle-ish elements to it. Was it tough with bugs and everything like that to make sure the game was smoothly running? Because it's one of those games that if something's not working right, the game won't advance, and then you have a big issue. So, was it a little bit of a QA headache, or was it pretty smooth development process?
No, there was definitely some QA headache. I think mostly like the biggest issue we actually had was with saving and loading and putting all the characters again in the right states. So like resuming an animation from the right state and making sure that all the triggers were still there. So we definitely had quite some issues there. But like the desktop version was released like 4 or 5 months before that, so we had plenty of time to find whatever edge case that was still lingering and fix that. So I think that's why the actual Quest version currently is so stable, because like I think we posted it somewhere, but since the desktop launch and then the actual Quest launch, we did almost 800 updates. Some of them were very small, but others were like pretty big. So yeah, that's how many issues there were still. Well, not like they were not per se all bugs. Some were improvements, but they were all things that we wanted to change since the sub release. So that's why it's become this much better.
That makes total. That's an insane amount of
It's no
updates.
friggin' joke.
Yeah, that's
That should be a wake up call.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into these games, and you see it when you see the credits. It's not a 10-man
Mm-mm.
credit team by any stretch of the
It's
imagination.
movie credits, dude.
Yeah. So, so I apologize if you had mentioned this when I asked about your company getting involved, or not your company, but Cyborn getting involved in VR. But for yourself, did you mention what was your first VR experience yourself?
I think it was mostly like while working with for Cyborn, and I think like the first VR games I played probably Arizona Sunshine and Space Pirate Trainer, like the classics. Um, but then eventually, I just mostly played all the story-driven games like Half-Life Alyx, Red Matter 1 and 2, Star Wars series. Um, I probably missed quite a few there, but that's mostly what I like most. I played some multiplayer games as well, but I'm just not that super good in them. I'm like quite too slow. I played quite some Breachers when released, because it's also a Belgium game studio. I wanted to see what their game's about, so it's a fun game, but I just keep getting beaten by 12-year-olds, and it was too much for me to handle. So but it's a fun game. So mostly what I like is story-driven games. I also played Medal of Honor, for example. I think probably every decent single player. Resident Evil 4, which was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for story-based games
Oh yeah.
as well. And, I always love to ask developers, working in VR and working in gaming, do you game yourself as well, or do you, is it
The
oh,
novelty is gone.
yeah, so it's you go home and headset off, but it sounds like for yourself you still game, a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, I game a fair amount because I don't really watch that much movies or series or whatever. So whenever I got free time, I spend it either more on the company or on games. But I don't play that often VR games in my free time because you wear VR glasses the entire day on the office, and so that's like 8 to 9 hours each day. So eventually it becomes a bit heavy. But whenever there's like I say, if there's like a title that I really want to play, then I will make time for that, and then often just like play it like straight up as many hours as possible. Like the thing that I don't got like the additional battery pack yet on my Quest, so I most of the time play like for whenever the battery is dead, and then I charge it up, which is good actually. It makes like gives it a little bit break in between. But yeah, if the games are good, then I will play in VR. Else, I will probably just like we got like a big library with VR games at the office, and then we just like test everything because we need to know all the mechanics that are used in other games. We need to make sure that we don't like every game has their own learning pattern behind certain mechanics, so we need to make sure that we understand why they do something and then see if we can implement it in ours. So that's different. We definitely play a lot of VR games there, but it's more for work, like for science, right? uh, but when I play the VR games at home, then yeah, they need to be good, and then mostly like the story driven ones.
Understood. That makes a lot of sense. And I gotta ask for yourself, when you do VR game, what headset do you use?
Actually, I mostly play on the Quest 2 because it's so accessible. And then I also, yeah, obviously the PSVR2 headset. I played a fair amount on that as well. But that's also a very easy one to set up. I did play Half-Life Alyx back in the days on the Quest 2, but that was linked to my PC. But it just takes a bit too much effort to get going on the desktop, so that's why I just prefer the flexibility of a Quest 2. I just turn it on, put it on my head, and that comes from someone who like really focuses on high-end graphics and like super well-made things that runs best on PlayStation or desktop. But I just still prefer the Quest.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the accessibility of it. Just
Oh, the
put on and
convenience, you
Yeah.
really can't beat it.
well, there's a lot of times, I work a full-time job. We do the podcast, it's definitely full-time effort, but it's not full-time paying the bills yet. We still, work our Monday through Friday. Oftentimes, I get home from work, I got about an hour to play, an hour and a half.
Mhm.
I can't spend 30 minutes of that, 15 minutes of that troubleshooting,
Setting
doing
up, yeah.
setup. You're out of your mind. I'll get frustrated, or I just won't play. But being able to just turn on the headset, I get pissy if it takes a minute of boot up time because, I got to redraw my Guardian, or it's just being finicky on the boot up. Yeah, there's really something to be said about just being able to put on a headset and do your experience, especially if you don't have the most amount of,
Mhm.
gaming time in the schedule. So that's
Or money.
that's
If you don't
awesome.
have that money, you're not.
Yeah. So have you? Because for me, if I was in your position, I'd be like, well, it's a work expense. I got to get one for testing. But do you have a Quest Pro as well?
Yeah, well, not the company has Quest Pros, so I think we got nearly every headset in the company. So that's also because like we work together with a lot of platforms, so a lot of them are sent to us because yeah, we have to test their hardware. But personally, I don't got a Quest Pro. Uh,
Understood. Understood. I'm very envious
Well,
of
if you
the.
can go to work and use one, you don't need
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
yeah,
Again, I think when people, if you say you don't always VR game at home, but then you go into how much you're using it in work, like you said, for science and stuff like that, it makes sense. I definitely, I understand it.
hmm Plus, you don't need a house with 50 headsets in it.
Mm-hmm. So, we had talked a little bit about potential things that might come for Hubris. For yourself personally, would you rather see it go a direction of a direct continuation of, the story where it left off, or do you like the idea of expanding to more of the universe itself?
Well, for me, it's not. First off, it's not my decision because that's for Eve to make. But I think whatever we do within the universe, because I know a lot of the backstory and it's all very exciting. Hopefully, at one point we can just do all of it. But yeah, obviously that's something that we have to be able to like fund it, make sure that we can like produce it, and then that it's done within a reasonable amount of time. Um, but I mean, I definitely want to make an action adventure game again, like Hubris, like just like this, but then maybe a different story. Maybe we don't follow the recruit anymore. That's kind of open for me, but I think like the mechanics that we had already were very solid. Was very nice to have like all the free roaming, like the swimming, jumping, climbing, stuff like that. I think the combination of having that much mobility in a VR game is rarely done, and I really want to build on top of that. And then I just want to like go way deeper in the combat design because I think it was there, but it was like still quite thin right now. But I think we can do so much more with the knowledge we got. So I definitely want to show that as well, like how much we grew during this production. So it will definitely be like more emphasis on that as well in next game.
I'll be looking forward to anything the studio does because I know it's going to be done well. That's my expect. That's the only downside to putting out a really good game is you've raised the bar from our expectations from the studio. So it doesn't matter what they put out.
Mhm.
You know, our expectations are what we just last played from them. So
And I mean, you have the skeletons of everything to expand upon. If you want to take the base mechanics that you've built in Hubris and go a different direction with them, but use that same base, you have a combat system. Like you said, you have the climbing, the swimming. You have a crafting system with weapon upgrades. You have combat with multiple different weapons. So
good graphic designers.
hey, the load in to how you load it your save. Obviously, you can do it straight from button clicking, but we love the little pod entry.
Oh, I go
where you
through
just
the whole show, dude. The first time, no spoiler, but the first time, like when you start the game and you get
Mhm.
in it, and I was like, this is gonna be freaking great.
Mhm.
Just that little experience alone was just it was home run. No, I love story based games, man.
Yeah, and Hubris was definitely a home run on the Quest too.
So I'm. Do you guys still own the or use the motion capture studio?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's one of the bigger services that we're currently offering as a company. I think last week we had a motion capture session of ballet people, dancers. Is it ballet as well? Ballet.
Yep,
Ballet,
ballet.
yeah.
That's correct.
Yep.
Ballet. Yeah, ballet. Okay. So basically that. So that's really cool because they can dance super well, and then they're like in this completely motion capture suit, and then yeah, we just like make perfect animations out of that dance performance. That's amazing to see. Uh, so yeah, we use it still often, and yeah, we obviously also use it for our own productions. Soon the recording will start for the YouTube shorts as well. So then we use it again.
So were the NPCs in Hubris all used with that studio?
Yeah, we motion captured everything in house, and then we animated everything in house as well.
And how much does that speed up the development time? Not needing to work in animations and everything like that. I'm starting to do some Unity tutorials, and I quickly see why the art peoples are paid so high, not only in designing the character, but then also working out the animations. I can totally see how motion capture, you know, could save some of that. But what's the time saved in application?
It's huge. I think with 3D movies, and I don't know it by head exactly, but one animator could do like, I don't know, 2 seconds or something per day. So for a movie, 3D movie productions, and then I think like if we mocap it, obviously you need to do the mocapping session, but then the first cleaning pass, like you can do like maybe an hour every day just cleaning, and then depending on how hard the scenes are, because like if you got a fighting scene compared to like just a dialogue scene, it's considerably different like in technicalities, because basically for motion capture what you have to do, like if you do a movement and it occludes some of the trackers, then the tracking is gone, and then an animator has to clean that part, and that's the part that takes quite some time. They often have to focus a lot on finger clipping, things like that. So it's a bit more technical, but yeah, you can do absurd amounts. Like it's at least it may be like between maybe it's almost 10 times as fast than doing traditional animation.
What a smart investment to make.
Yeah, man, to own that studio.
Not only to be able to save
That's
yourself
genius.
time and then, kind of third party it, use it as a service. That's so smart.
So, what's the process to find the actors that you're looking for? Because I mean, is it a unique set of actors that's all they do is motion acting, or is it like, do you look
Yes,
for acting students? What's that like?
it's growing. Like there are way more actors these days that are actually specialized in motion capturing animation. But if you don't got that, you can also look for actual people that perform on as it's called on theater. Yeah, like just not movie productions, but on theater because they need to like do very big movements and stuff like that. And it's the same in motion capture. You have to like do some things a little bit more than while on a movie production. Actors would like act quite subtle, but the subtlety is sometimes lost. So you really want someone that who likes make big movements and stuff like that. But like I said, these days you can find way more actual like motion capture trained actors. You even got motion capture trained actors that are trained to do creatures. I don't know if you saw some of those already. That's great. Like there's a guy that's like specialized in it, and he has like an attachment that then he acts like a tail, and then he has like stuff to make his arms longer, and then it's super believable animation, and it's so much faster to do it like just capture it because it's the performance of the actor compared to like keyframing it. It's crazy. So yeah, I think it will just get bigger and bigger motion capture.
That was kind of what I was hoping to hear. I figured that as an industry, it's an area that, and even in movie production, I mean, trying to think of movies that don't use it, but like every superhero movie has to use it. Video games, when they have the budgets, they can benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it's a growing market. No, that's cool.
Oh,
Professional
I think it's going to be such a big
capture actor.
yeah,
You know,
it's a game changer for sure. I just
that's
saw
freaking awesome.
that bare knuckle boxing game that's hyping up their game. They just posted some motion capture stuff, and I showed it to you today. I'm like, look how smooth that looks. It's from a viewer standpoint, seems like a game changer, but it's good to hear from the professional standpoint that it's a game changer and
Well,
more.
just the time saved alone,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting it
Well,
as the person did it. There's no like
it's not like time saved, but then the consumer end result is lessened because hey, we saved so many hours. It's a little
no,
worse,
it's time
but
saved for the better. It's just a
exactly,
coincidence.
it's everybody wins on
If
it.
it took
So
more time, it would still be worth it because the
Mhm.
finished product's going to be better. But it
Yes.
just so happens it saves time.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. You just have to get the equipment, but it's good to see that studios like you guys are, even if you don't want to make the investment for yourself, you have studios
Someone
you can
wants
go
to-
to. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
that's huge. So,
I've always wanted to do that
yeah, motion capture.
just once.
Yeah, it'd be pretty fun.
Just
I
to have
gotta
the wireframe of yourself
I
doing
don't-
dumb shit.
I don't trust myself to stay mature during the whole motion capture.
I'll follow
process.
a script. I don't mind. But I totally get the concept too of having to be a little over exaggerated in your movements because you know in a live action movie you can be natural and it looks natural, but in video game world natural's not going to look natural.
No.
So it does make sense.
So before we let
If we go out there, we'll have to rent some motion capture studio time.
have a little bit of fun, but a lot of our viewers know we record on Sundays. Our Koen's,
We're time hogs for our guests.
yeah, Koen's joining us over in Belgium, which they're just a couple hours ahead of us, so it's a little late in Sunday.
Only 6.
Yeah, it's a little late in Sunday evening for Koen here. He's been nice enough to join us for this past hour. But do you have anything else you want to ask him before we wrap this baby up?
No, half of, and this always happens during interviews, half of what I want to ask gets answered organically or through the natural flow of things. So, I mean, key points that excite me is that one way or another, we're getting some more lore about this universe.
Whether it's YouTube Shorts, more games,
which
whatever.
Sounds really cool. I'm anxious to see more. I'm anxious to see more and don't care if it's Hubris universe or if it's a brand new start from the development team. I think they've got a fantastic team put together, and
Yeah, like you said, you see the name Cyborn coming on it,
yeah,
it's going to be good.
I wouldn't be disappointed to see some VR movies coming out from this studio, because I don't know. So all my questions got answered. I'm just excited. There's more to come in one which way or form. So
Yeah, clearly they understand mobile optimizing too, with
Yeah.
just going scene
You
by
think?
scene, making it good. It wasn't the biggest headache like we've heard from other developers, so that gives me a lot of hope for future work. So, Koen, thank you for joining us. And for our listeners, where can they find Hubris on social media? Is it just at Hubris VR?
I think depending on what platform, it's most of the times Hubris VR. But if you just like Google whatever you want, like for example Twitter, and you do Hubris VR, you will always find us, or Facebook, or our Discord. Should be easy enough to track us down.
Perfect. So
Yeah, especially if people want to get updates when the YouTube shorts start dropping. So
yeah, so we'll definitely have to have you back on, when more is announced in the future. I know you said there's some cool AAA stuff that you're working on as the contractor side you can't talk about yet, but
dude, the projects that were already mentioned in the past are pretty
yeah, next time I see
damn good.
a VR game with Cyborn, I'm reaching out that day. I'm super hyped for what's potentially to come. And Koen, thank you again for joining us today. And other than that, check you out. Be sure to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and see you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Right. Thanks so much for your time, guys.